This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media and the Rule Classroom, sponsors of the 2025 Natural Resources Investment Symposium, July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or via live stream from the comfort and convenience of your own home or your office. A few things you need to know about the conference. First of all, we're going to give you 50 hours of programming over 4 days, more than you can absorb. To that end, the conference recordings will be available whether you attend via live or via live stream, and you will need to play the recordings to get all that we propose to teach you. Further to that, we're interviewing every exhibitor and every speaker before the conference so that you can allocate your time and capital more efficiently at the conference. We urge you to study the exhibitors and reach out to them before the conference so you can utilize your time at the conference better. Something else you need to know about the exhibitor. At every other investment conference in the world, exhibitors are considered to be advertisers, which means that the qualification to be an exhibitor is simply a check that cashes. At our conference, we vet them all. We own them. If we don't own the stock, they don't appear on our floor. In fact, we turn down more exhibitors than we accept. That allows me to make an extravagant offer to you, the attendee. If for any reason, whether you attend via live or via live stream, this comes with a solid gold money back guarantee. If you don't think that we've delivered the value that we've charged you for, we'll give you your money back. So let's start with the interviews. Today I have the great good fortune of interviewing Mr. Jason Atu, CEO of Osisko Gold Royalty. Note that I am a shareholder of Osisko Gold Royalty. Jason, thank you for your efforts on behalf of mining investors over time. Thank you in particular for your support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Rick. Real pleasure to be here.
Tell me something about your background, Jason. How did you come to be CEO of Osisko? And tell me about the expertise that will cause me to want to care about your answers to the questions that come.
So, Rick, 30 years in the business now, I find the mining and metals business to be incredibly dynamic. For the most part, my formative years were actually in investment banking. I spent 16 years in investment banking. And in fact, I was actually at BMO when Osisko Gold Royalties was created, and they were the advisors of Osisko Mining. And I think people would know or recognize our company, Osisko Gold Royalties, is a young company. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary, which you would know, Rick, was founded as a direct result of that takeover defense for which it spun out the 5% royalty on the Canadian Malartic. Subsequent to my time as an investment banker, ironically enough, I landed myself at Goldcorp, the group that did have the hostile takeover on Osisko Mining 1. And found myself at the CFO there all the way up till Newmont obviously acquired Goldcorp. So I would say what makes me uniquely positioned is the fact that I've been across very many formative transactions for companies around growth. So do understand our clients, firstly, understand exactly what happened with respect to the hostile situation, understand that the Malartic royalty, the 5% NSR, is the best and greatest gold royalty out there. Understand that this team has done a fantastic job of taking that one producing royalty to 21 producing royalties and streams with over 185 assets in various stages of development exploration. But I think the point would be, Rick, being across this industry for 30 years, I've been associated with, again, our company, as you can appreciate, we're a capital provider for growth companies. And I've got that direct experience both on the deal side from my investment and the operational side from my time at Goldcorp.
I think it would be useful for our listeners who will be coming via live stream from more than 30 companies to note that BMO is Bank of Montreal, probably the preeminent bank-owned mining investment banking firm in the planet. Accurate?
Correct, yes.
Great. So let's get into Osisko Gold Royalty. You mentioned the Malartic royalty, Canada's first or second largest gold mine. I don't know if it's larger than Detour Lake or not, but at any rate, a spectacular asset. But take us through the most important assets, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So Canadian Malartic is our most important asset. It continues to be a significant contributor for our business in the near term and the long term. For context, for your audience, it represents about 30% of our net asset value. And to contextualize that, in 2024, it represented about 37.5% of our cash flows from operations. This is an asset that's operated by Agnico Eagle, and I know, and I think you would also represent Rick. They're the best. I would say they're the best operators on the planet, and they have a strategy at Malartic to basically what they call fill the mill, getting that asset to 1 million ounces of annual production, which obviously would be hugely beneficial for our shareholders, because right now they're about 600 to 650,000 ounces per year. They've been openly talking about ways to essentially get to that 1 million ounce annual production rate. What's happening right now at the mine site, again, the mine was started basically with a bulk tonnage, lower grade open pit source of ore, and they now are transitioning to a higher grade underground underground operation. So that would mean that there's plenty of latent mill capacity, and therefore the Abitibi region, where the Malartic mine in Quebec is very prolific. There's all sorts of assets around for which Agnico either owns or essentially controls, and so there is great possibilities and great, just a great promise for Canadian Malartic go forward. The stated life of mine that Agnico has put out there is until 2042. However, and given that prospectivity, given all the assets in the very near term, we do think it's going to be decades beyond that. In addition, as I mentioned, the company was created by the takeover defense for the NSR at Malartic, but what it really interestingly has as well, it has a toll milling royalty as well. Any gold or any precious metals, any metals whatsoever that's actually run through the Malartic mill, and there's plenty of opportunities to do that. Our shareholders will participate in a 40 cent per ton toll milling royalty. So it was a very interesting and unique, and well done to the founders of the company of creating that, or putting that royalty on the toll mill royalty in addition to the NSR on Malartic proper. The second most significant asset, if we go down through our portfolio, would be the Mantos Blancos asset. That's a really interesting asset in Chile that Capstone Copper, I'm sure your audience would know, and they're probably participating in your symposium as well. But we've got a silver stream there at Capstone in Chile, and so that's a very important asset for ourselves. But again, not the same magnitude of obviously what we're getting from Canadian Malartic. The third most important asset is a new asset for us. It's called CSA, which MAC Copper, or Metals Acquisition Copper, we helped them acquire that 2 years ago. It is the highest grade copper mine in all of Australia, and so it's been operating for decades and decades. Again, this long life, excellent, both copper, we have 100% of the silver stream. We also have a small copper stream there as well. And then again, speaking of, and you'll notice a theme here, because the remainder of the assets I'll talk about, Eleanor, another great asset that just was sold by Newmont to a private company in Quebec as well, would be our fourth more contributing asset. Followed by Island Gold. So Alamos Gold obviously has done some great work in taking that asset and making it bigger and more significant for their shareholders. We have a great royalty interest there as well, and we wish Alamos all the success. Again, the theme here is, as you can hear, we've got assets. Everything that I talked about is Canada, Australia, Chile. And so we think we got the best jurisdiction out there of any royalty player, the safest jurisdictions out there, jurisdictions that, again, what we call sleep at night jurisdictions. Is the bulk of our royalties is in, again, what we define as tier one jurisdictions, Canada, the US, and Australia.
Jason, speaking of sleeping at night, the listeners need to remember that as a royalty and streaming company, all of the capital expense associated with beneficiating these assets, upfront capital, sustaining capital, in fact, operating costs, are other people's problems. your gross is your net.
That's right.
Tell me something about estimates or guidance in terms of operating cash flow relative to market capitalization, and talk to me about your balance sheet too. This has always
Sure.
been a financial fortress.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. The benefits of the royalty model is highly efficient, highly scalable. We have no direct capital. The operating or exploration cost exposure, our fixed costs. I mean, we've got 28 full-time people, so that's really our fixed cost base plus being a company. But as you can appreciate, sorry, one second. Where we got to last year in terms of cash flow from operations, and we did switch our presentation currency to US dollars as of this year, so everything is in US dollars. We generated about 81,000 gold equivalent ounces and produced about 160 million of cash flow of operations. That is in 2024. So that wasn't obviously in the $3,000 gold environment we're sitting at now. Our guidance for this year is between 80 and 88,000 gold equivalent ounces. If you just take the midpoint of that, we're looking at revenues of north of 240 million US dollars, again at $3,000 gold. And so, again, as I said, the benefit of royalty models, if it's done right, it's the only business for which you can provide your shareholders asymmetric returns. There's very low fixed costs associated with our business. And in addition, I was mentioning 2024, 2025. What we do have here at Osisko Gold Royalties is we put out our guidance, our 5-year outlook out to 2029. We've actually got 40% growth from that 80 to 88 as of 2025 out to 2029. And all that growth is bought and paid for. So there's no contingent capital associated with it. In fact, more than or about 50% of our assets are going through expansions right now or ramp ups. And so, again, our shareholders are going to be a great benefactor of this 40% growth, that there's no contingent capital, it's all bought and paid for.
And what's the market charging me for this? What's the market cap and what's the balance sheet look like?
Yeah, so our market cap is right now, it's about $3.8 billion US dollars. Our balance sheet is in excellent shape. When I joined the company just 16 months ago, we had gross debt of about just around 325 million Canadian. We're actually in a net cash position as of a couple of weeks from now. So really have taken an effort to delever the company to really help us load up in terms of allow us to have enough financial capacity. Sorry, Rick. Enough financial capacity to do accretive deals for our shareholders. And so we have and this is Canadian dollars. We haven't converted our facility or revolver facility to US as of yet, but that's something we will do this year. $750 million of capacity through a revolver facility for us to go out and do accretive deals for our shareholders.
Jason, thank you for many years of service to mining industry investors. Thank you in particular for your support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. To the extent that our attendees and prospective attendees would like to learn more about Osisko, who in particular should they contact, and how exactly should they contact this person?
So Rick's great question. We're a very open management team. I pride myself in having access to essentially all our investors or prospective investors. So you can contact myself. My contact is obviously on our website. The other person specifically, if you can't contact with myself, if I'm traveling or in the midst of a deal or something like that, Grant Monting, who you can find also on our website, who is our VP of Capital Markets. He's also the person with the contact information on every one of our press releases. So please, if you do have any questions, you want more information on Osisko Gold Royalties, because we think it is the best way to play the royalty and streaming space, especially in an environment for which we think is going to be very constructive for precious metals over the next, I would say, near term 3 to 5 years. Please do reach out. We take great pride in basically having good access to the management and our strategy and our thoughts around how we're going to make this a preeminent royalty and streaming company.
Jason, thank you for your sponsorship of our conference. I look forward to hosting you in Boca Raton. Thanks again.
Sounds great, Rick. Real pleasure.